you something real quick. All right. Okay, so we're told the length is, so that means it equals 2 times the width. And then we're told what the length of the garden is. Right? And so that means we can start the equation relating the length to the width. And then we can go ahead and substitute for the length of 10.4 and solve that problem. Okay, and again, you might be able to figure out the solution even if you didn't come up with an equation. Okay, and then the last one, the remaining amount in account is $499 more than it was 3 years ago. So right now we have $5,697. 3 years in the past, what was it? Well, we got 499 more now. So what would the 499 have added to get what we have now? And I'll just use the letter M for money. So then you solve that. Now, again, you could probably figure this out even if you didn't come up with an equation, right? You could just subtract 499 from that, and that would have been okay if you're just solving the problem, but the instructions ask us to write and solve an equation. Okay, now when you're looking at 4, 5, and 6, sometimes there's more than one way to do a problem, and that's probably true for number 4. Also number 5, and maybe also number 6. Okay, so what I would do with number 4, to make it a little easier, at least the way I see things, is I would take the second equation and solve it for y in terms of x. And I'll point out why I would choose to do that, but because this is already a y, so we could figure out what the y equals in the second equation, we can just replace it there. So this is what I would do. Right, now once you have the two equations equal to the same variable, you can put them equal to each other. So you can solve that. All right, now the alternative would have been to replace the x here with the y minus 4. And that's okay if that's what you did. If you went ahead and solved it that way, thing is, notice you're going to have a little more involved, and you might make a mistake when you multiply with the -2. But you could do that. All right. And so here, when we go ahead and finish this problem, since there's variables on both sides, go ahead and quickly get the variable on the same side. And then it's just solving that equation. All right. Remember, there's two variables, so we're not done yet because we wanted the common solutions, right? And since these are lines, there's only going to be one common solution, one xy value that's common for both these equations. So we just found one of the variables. We now got to find the other, and I would go back to here and substitute 2 for x. So you can see it's 6. Okay, now if you did it this way, then you would wind up getting the 6 first, and then you could replace the 6 right here, and you'll still get x equal 2. So I'm just pausing. I don't want to go too fast. Okay, then we got the number 5 problem. And here you might as well just replace the x with 5y. And then you can solve what y is. Right, so I'm not going to do this one completely. But since you have that second equation equal to 5y, you can go ahead and replace that with 5y, since in the second equation it told you x was equivalent to 5y. So when you replace the x in the first equation with 5y, that gets you an equation to solve for y, and then subtract 4y. And then once you get your y, multiply it by 5 to get the x. All right, and then we got the last one. Now, the last one is probably about those last three, probably the one that's a little more involved, just because you got some numbers there that you're going to have to use the distributive property with. Right? Unlike the first problem, there was an alternative method that avoided the distributive property. This problem, that's not going to be the case. And so we're going to take what y equals in the first equation and replace that for the y in the second equation. Okay, so here's the y multiplied by 2. From the first equation, we can replace that y in the second equation with the 11 plus 4x. And then we've got to do the distributive property. Now, people might goof up because they forget to multiply each part of the sum. So you're doubling each part of the sum. Okay, and now we want to simplify. So on the left side, we can combine the 3x with the 8x. So that's 11x. And now sometimes people get stuck here because the 0 trips them out. 0 is just a number. So we want to solve for x. So we minus 22 from both sides. And then we'll divide by 11, we get negative 2. Now another thing to be careful with is losing track of the negative. Sometimes that happens. And so if you goof up the negative, then when you substitute it, you're going to get the wrong number for the other answer. And so then we would go back here and substitute negative 2 for x. And so you're going to get 11 minus 8 for y.